say, kids, what time is it?
Kirk Allen was the first live-action Superman in the 1948 and 1950 Superman serials. He played him as a true blue Boy Scout right out of the comic book. George Reeves hit the small screen in 1952 with The Adventures of Superman, which ran until 1958, after which he was part of several stage adaptations of Superman before his untimely demise in 1959. Other actors that have worn the red and blue spandex to much acclaim include Dean Cain, who donned the cape in the popular ABC series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, which ran 4 seasons from 1993 to 1997. Tom Welling, who played a young Clark Kent in the series Smallville, which ran 10 seasons on the WB and CW networks respectively. And in cinema, we've seen Brandon Routh wear his undies on the outside for 2006's Superman Returns, and most recently, Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel in the DC Extended Universe, which took Superman into new territory as an unsure, brooding type of character who grapples with a cynical society and choosing to be a hero. But for me, none have portrayed the last son of Krypton's Kal-El with so much charm, optimism, and enthusiasm like Christopher Reeve, who, with director Richard Donner, made us all believe that a man could fly in 1978's Superman the movie. Reeves' Superman leaped from the pages of the comics, and his clumsy, insecure alter ego Clark Kent was a portrayal for the ages. The Reeve Superman film spawned 3 inferior sequels that ran out of gas in 1987, succumbing to declining box office. The 1978 score by John Williams has also become the quintessential theme for all things Superman to this day. Margot Kidder was also, in my opinion, far and away the best screen adaptation of Lois Lane. Kidder's snarky, cocksure, impetuous, Pulitzer-driven reporter for Perry White's Daily Planet has set a benchmark that has not been rivaled by any actress for the role since. For me, it doesn't get any better than Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, and Gene Hackman in Richard Donner's Superman the movie. It's the gold standard. Which brings us to the latest screen adaptation of Clark and Lois with the CW's Superman and Lois, starring Tyler Hoechlin as Clark Kent Kal-El, and Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane, and it co-stars Alex Garfin as Jordan Kent, Jordan Elsass as Jonathan Kent, and Emmanuel Criqui as Lana Lang. And now my thoughts on Episode 3, The Perks of Not Being a Wallflower. Hi everybody, Keith here, back with another episode of Superman and Lois. This is Episode 3, called The Perks of Not Being a Wallflower. So just to quickly catch you up, at the end of Episode 2, Clark had decided to let Jonathan go to school after all, so Jonathan's going to be attending Smallville High now, and the show opens with them at painting the house. It's a great family moment, and this episode in particular, of the first 3, if you've been watching my reviews, you have been beaten to death with this idea of the palette, the color palette, and the warm and the cold, and no episode brings that out more than this one so far out of the first 3. So early on, they're having fun. They're painting the house. They start painting, splashing paint on each other, and goofing around like a happy family would. And you notice the happy family, and they're getting along. Well, Jordan doesn't look too happy there, but it's got that orangey warmth glow to it. So what happens is Clark hears a bunch of commotion. He hears people in distress, and they went to the old Superman trope of the bus on a bridge. I think there's been, I don't know how many times we've seen that. We saw that in the 1978 Superman. We saw it in Man of Steel, where we see it here. So Clark goes to, or Superman goes to save the people in the big, it's a like a 9-car pileup, and the bus is going to fall off the edge of the bridge. And just a great moment there. He saves this. The bridge is going to collapse down on top of this fisherman. Superman saves him and pushes the bridge back up, and they have that nice moment where they acknowledge each other, and he waves, and he's got the paint on his hands. So it's just like it's the little things in this show that I really appreciate and like, and right there is a perfect illustration of that. So now we jump forward after the credits, the logo, and we're with the Clark family having breakfast, and they're asking Clark, the Kent family. Did I say the Clark family? The Kent family. So they're asking Clark how he can hear things, and how do you differentiate someone in distress from someone just shouting, or people having an argument. And Clark tells them that it took years to hone the Fortress of Solitude. It took a lot of practice to be able to sift out the extraneous noises and be able to hone in on people in trouble. And the kids are really curious about it, and they ask him one of these kind of crazy questions.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever heard?
Nope. Not appropriate.
Be honest, was there nudity involved?
Maybe when you guys are older.
Oh, come on! Come on!
Another time.
So again, a great family moment. Nice, the orange glow, the warmth of the home, and the scene goes on from there. Clark does the old Spider-Man "with great power comes great responsibility" routine. They actually say, "With great power comes a great burden," and Lois says, "and responsibility." So kind of funny little cheeky nod to Spider-Man there. Even though Spider-Man's a Marvel comic property. There's a mutual respect for great characters between the two, clearly. So, Clark basically levels with the boys, and he says, you got to keep this you got to keep the secret. You can't let anyone onto this, because it would put all of them in jeopardy, all the loved ones. And of course, Clark also says, I can't always be there for you guys. I can't be worried about having to protect you all the time. Just to be careful and, put his trust in the kids. Then we flip to the fighting Cushings, or Cushings as I like to call them, which is Lana Lang and her husband Kyle and her daughter Sarah. A lot of dysfunction going on here. And again, now, we just go back.
What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever heard?
Nope. Not appropriate.
Be honest, was there nudity involved?
Maybe when you guys are older.
Oh, come on! Come on!
Another time.
Okay, so again, look at the orange, the warmth. The family's happy. They're there for each other. They're supporting one another. Then we go to this family, and you can see immediately it's desaturated. It's got an icy blue to it. And we find out Kyle is challenging Lana on, how much longer we have to put up with this. And we find out that Sarah's been seeing a therapist for about a year now. And Lana has this, grave concern about whatever she's seeing the therapist for. And Kyle's basically had enough. Enough is enough. He's looking at his wallet, getting thinner and thinner, and wondering what the outcome of all this therapy is going to be. Then we have a smash cut to Jordan and Sarah at school, and she tries to quickly keep her distance from Jordan, and it's too late. Sean, her boyfriend, sees this, and if you can see by this screen grab here, Sean is twice the size of Jordan. He's twice the human being that Jordan is. So he comes over and starts flexing and bullying him. He throws him into the lockers and whatnot, and Jordan almost loses it again. His eyes glow red for a split second. Now all this time it's cross-cutting, it's parallel action cutting to Clark on the farm doing chores with a tractor or whatever, and he's hearing this with his super hearing. And when it gets to this point, suddenly Clark appears at the school and plays dumb. Basically, he just walks in like he just walked in off the street, and he's curious to see what the high school looked like after all these years away. And the boys are on to exactly what he did. They were just talking about his super hearing over breakfast, right? So when they get home, they confront him on it, and once again, poor Clark, trying to be a good dad and protect his boys, ends up on the fecal roster yet again.
How long have you been doing this? Since we moved here, our whole lives?
It's not like I'm listening all the time.
That is the wrong answer.
And again, his aw shucks farm boy, like, it's not all the time. He doesn't understand the gravity of the betrayal of trust that the two, he just did to the two boys. And it doesn't end well again. So he sits down, of course, with his better half, Lois, and she says, "Do you remember the first time you did that to me?" And he says, "Yeah, I thought I was going to lose you. I think I spent an entire week's paycheck on flowers just to apologize." And she said, "Wow, you spent 2 weeks' paychecks on flowers just to apologize, and it almost didn't work." So he says, "Well, what should I do? How do I get their trust back?" And she says, "Just make them the same promise you made me." That's all you have to do. Just make them the same promise. I think she's saying stop treating them like children and treat them like adults. So the next morning, Clark's waiting outside at the truck to take them to school, and they kind of have a little... they kind of bury the hatchet. I mean, it's not a complete forgiveness by the boys, but it's good enough for now. So Lois goes to her job at the Smallville Gazette. She's had 1 day's work there, and she was telling Clark over dinner with the same scene where he was asking advice about the boys. She mentioned that she's run around trying to deal with all these reverse mortgage scams that Morgan Edge has been pulling in Smallville, and nobody wants to talk to her. So she thinks maybe it's because she's an outsider, but it seems like nobody in Smallville wants to say a damn thing. So the next day, ironically, in walks this woman named Sharon Powell, and she has information about the New Carthage scam. She read the New Carthage article that Lois published in episode 2 that Morgan Edge wrote, and then she took to Chrissy here at the Smallville Gazette, and they actually published it, and it was about how Morgan Edge basically defunded an entire town, just basically killed the town. Just doing the same kind of thing, reverse mortgage scams, promising jobs that never happen, and things like that. She says she's got a lot of dirt on Morgan Edge, and that her son was a miner, not a miner like a small child, an actual miner, like a coal miner for Edge. He took a job, worked 6 months. Morgan Edge apparently offered him like the offer. I can't do a good Marlon Brando. I got an offer you can't refuse. Basically offered him the chance of a freaking lifetime, right? And the kid took it and never came back, and all they had left was a cryptic voicemail, and the kid kind of knew he was going to die. He says, I wish I told you I loved you before I left, and this is, I don't know if I'm going to ever see you again, kind of thing. And it's just awful. And so they have their first real tangible lead now. They actually have a character witness to start this investigation. While they're doing this, lo and behold, they're being spied upon by some strange man in it looks like a K car. Remember those K cars? Those what were they? Were they Plymouths? Plymouth K car? Dodge K car? Whatever they were. Boxy sedan, we'll call it. Meanwhile, we're back at Smallville High, home of the Crows, and we see that Lana Cushing, and again, the blue cast palette here, the desaturated, icy palette. She's the coach of the cheerleader team, and Sarah's timing's all off. She's just not into it. Lana confronts her rather harshly, kind of calls her out in front of everyone, embarrassingly, and so Sarah says, you know what, I quit, and walks out. At the same time, ironically enough, Jordan decides to walk on and try out for the football team, much to his brother's chagrin. Jonathan's trying to tell him, you could hurt somebody. What are you doing? And he's like, don't worry about this. I got this. And he proceeds to go out and just annihilate everybody. There's a quick little montage where he's just blowing people up. The Coach Gaines puts him on defense. And it's pretty funny because he just wreaks havoc in the practice, and he's clearly holding back. And at the end of the practice, the coach comes up smiling to Jonathan, and Jonathan thinks he's going to be complimented for bringing Jordan to the team, and instead the coach is like, why didn't you tell me about this before? Take 5 laps for hiding this secret from me. So it kind of backfires a little bit on Jonathan, who can't seem to catch a break since moving to Smallville. So then the next scene, they're in a diner, the 3 kids. It's Jordan, Jonathan, and Sarah, and they're kind of, it's a little true confession session where she's talking about how she just feels completely empty, and she just wants to change everything about how her life is going. And the 2 boys can kind of identify, and for different reasons. Jordan can identify because he's constantly he's a loner. He's always been kind of an outcast kid, and now he's dealing with superpowers that, of course, he can't tell anybody about. And then there's Jonathan, who's dealing with being uprooted from Metropolis, where he was the star athlete and the big man on campus, and now he's pretty much a nobody in Smallville and can't even get, barely can get any practice time on the football team. And in walks Lana and is demanding answers to why Sarah quit the football team. Now, this scene, too, has an interesting color palette to it because this screen grab is not really indicative of the whole scene. When you first see it and Lana comes in, it's kind of got that icy desaturation look, but through the windows, there's a strong orange glow coming through the windows. It's almost like there's going to be there's a catharsis, and maybe the outside is the safe place, if you will. But as soon as Lana comes into the diner, it's that confrontation again. It's this dysfunction this family has, and we're just getting bits and pieces. We don't really understand why, especially these two do not get along. And in this scene here too, Sarah goes off on her, calls her like the most full of crap woman in Smallville, and you have to take pills to sleep, and Dad sleeps on the couch, and just empties the skeletons in the closet in front of the Kents. And again, there's a cute Clark Kent moment on the way out. Lana says, "Get in the car, we're leaving," and they stomp out of the diner, and Clark's coming in. He goes, "Oh, hi, Lana," and she's like, "Not now, Clark," and he's okay. It's just Tyler Hoechlin's got the Clark Kent thing down. I think that's the charm of the show. The Superman thing is kind of, that's the subplot stuff. What's really effective is his Clark Kent. So, meanwhile, back at the Gazette, Chrissy's not sure that their lead is concrete. She's telling Lois, she reeked of booze. She really didn't bring much evidence beyond a newspaper article or a wanted, whatever, missing child poster, missing persons poster. And Chrissy's telling her, "Look, we can't conduct a full investigation. We don't even have a staff. It's just the two of us." And then they hear this noise, and Lois's Volvo is on fire. She got car bombed. So Kyle, being one of the big firemen in town, comes to put it out, and Lois tells him Morgan Edge did this, and he's like, "You don't know that. You shouldn't be going around saying things like that." And Lois is like, "Well, I have a star witness now," and Chrissy again says, "Well, we haven't verified anything. There's no corroboration yet of anything. So let's just pump the brakes here. This is starting to, for somebody like Chrissy at the Smallville Gazette, like this is already like way beyond her pay grade, and nothing she ever thought she'd have to deal with in a small Midwestern town like this." So meanwhile, back at the Kent house, and less orange in the shot, because we have a little confrontation between the brothers. Jonathan is starting to feel stepped on by his brother. He's like, football is all I have, and now you want that too. And Jordan's like, why can't I play football? Why can't I be part of something? Why you don't own football? You don't have exclusive rights to football. And it just gets kind of nasty. And I can see Jonathan's point, here, because again, he hasn't caught one break since they moved. Well, neither of them have really, but Jordan's kind of, dare I say, used to that, where Jonathan's used to just getting things going. Things tend to go his way all the time. So they got a little. He kind of accuses Jordan of being selfish, and the fact that he's doing it to piss off Sean, because he's got a thing for Sarah Cushing. So
What's your gut telling you?
That there's more to this.
Well, then you have to dig deeper.
Meanwhile, the parents, of course, the great support system they are for each other, look at the orange out on the front porch simultaneously. Lois is telling Clark about what's going on in the firebomb, and she's got like three witnesses now from the New Carthage scam that she has to go to New Carthage and investigate. So of course Clark says, "Well, then go. Like you just saw it. Go with your gut." The two of them understand each other completely and support each other. So off Lois goes in Clark's truck to New Carthage. Meanwhile, we have a scene the next day where, and again, we kind of have that bluish hue in the desaturated colors again. I mean, if you go, you look at that.
That there's more to this.
Look at how saturated the colors are. Look at how orange the palette is, and then we go to this, and it's desaturated, kind of gray. And it's both Lana and Clark are talking about the struggles with their children. And they find common ground there where they're afraid to know They want to know what's bothering the kids. They don't know what the kids are thinking, but they're also afraid to find out what the truth is. Teenagers, right? So, and then Lana makes a mention that, I hear Jordan's killing it on the football field. And Clark says, no, you mean Jonathan. She goes, no, Jordan. So Jordan's been hiding the fact that he tried out for football from Clark. I forgot to mention that too, and that was part of the altercation between the boys. Is that Jonathan's like, "Why are you lying to Dad?" He goes, "Why not? He always lies to us." He's like, "Well, he's gonna find out. When he finds out, you're screwed." And he's like, "Well, let him find out. I don't care." So anyway, they've been hiding it from him now. Now the jig is up. So meanwhile, we have a little montage again at practice. Jordan's just killing it, and this time he blows up Sean. And then reaches out and pulls Sean up off the ground. And Sean kind of has this mutual respect thing. And he understands that, like, he's not going to be able to bully this guy anymore. And I have a feeling that down the road, they're going to be close friends. Just a hunch, because I watch a lot of shit. And it seems like that's where it's going to go. So that night, Jordan comes home and Clark confronts him about being on the football team. And Jordan loses his shiz. Really gets insulting to Clark and says something like, I wish you would just fly off and never be home again and stuff like that. And it just, he's like, you're a failure as a dad. You lost your job. You moved us here and stuck us on this farm. And he just blows up at Clark. And Clark sends him to his room and then looks at Jonathan, who says, yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I don't know what he's thinking. He goes, you get out of here too. You go to your room too. So he's mad at both boys for lying to him, which is irony because he'd been lying to them. Like they said, you've been lying to us all the time too. So they just see it as a turnabout as fair play. So Jonathan comes up to talk to Jordan about what just happened, and he sits in the doorway for a second. He's about to start the conversation, and he sees this. He sees the playbook and then a text from a teammate, Malcolm, want to talk defense. So Jonathan has a revelation when he sees that. He goes downstairs to talk to Clark and says, I think you should let him play. And Clark says that's a huge mistake. He can kill somebody. And Jonathan says, no, I think he can handle it. And how do we even know that? We have to give him a chance. And he said, it's not about anything but being part of something. He said, I just saw he's making friends, and the text really resonated when he saw that the teammates are reaching out to him, and he belongs to something. Finally he feels included in something. He's not the outcast kid anymore. So Lois gets to New Carthage, and she goes to I wrote it down here, hang on. It's the Beach Grace Motel. Beach Grove Motel. Beach Grove Motel. I can't even read my own writing. Beach Grove Motel. It's a real dive. Cabin number 2. She goes in. She's looking for what's her name? Sharon Powell. They're supposed to meet there and look for some corroborating evidence to back up all the claims that Sharon's made about her son disappearing. And this huge hulk of a guy comes out of nowhere and starts throwing Lois around. So she grabs a hotel pen and jams it in his ear. And I just want to say that I didn't recognize him, but this guy, his name is Daniel Cudmore. He's 6'7", and he played Colossus in the Fox Bryan Singer universe X-Men movies. So there you go. So he's a beast. So she shoves the pen in his ear and then pulls out her little Superman beeper. And before we get to that, they have him listed as a guy named Subject 11. Subject with a K, like spelled right there. Hi, everybody. Subject 11, or 17, I'm sorry, was a comic book character in the DC Comics. Issue 655 was the debut, and he's like a Russian super soldier, for lack of a better term, or assassin. So that's who this guy is supposed to be. So Superman shows up, and it doesn't have an easy time with Subject 11, Colossus, Daniel Cudmore, sir. And Superman gets the craps beat out of him a little bit there, and then has to get a second wind and strategize how to take this guy down, because he clearly realizes this guy's got like Kryptonian powers. So you can see right there. I mean, just look at this guy's massive. He's a huge, huge guy. So he's definitely all that, and he's an equal to Clark in power. So great finish to the fight. Clark levitates, ices him up, beats him up as you just saw, and then throws him through the roof and kicks him out the side wall, and pretty much knocks him for a loop for a while there. Lois finds Sharon Powell, drugged and tied up in the bathroom. She's barely alive, so Clark races her to the hospital, and then it goes to this scene. And if any scene in this episode illustrates what I was talking about with the color palettes, this one does. So in this scene, Lana and Sarah open up, true confessions time, and we find out that Sarah tried to commit suicide, and she says why, and then we find out why Lana's been so overbearing and helicoptering as a helicopter parent, because she's terrified daily that she's going to lose her child, and it's completely understandable. What hasn't occurred between these two is this moment where they sit down and they express themselves and express their feelings, and it's a really well done scene. Even for the CW, it's a really well done scene. It's a very CW type scene, but it's really, really well done. And you can see, because they've come to terms in peace with each other, and they understand each other, and they realize that they do deeply both care about one another. I mean, they're mother-daughter. It's orange and warm. See, I'm not lying to you people. So then one of the final scenes, Jordan gets up, insults Clark again, and Clark says, "Now come here, I want to tell you a story," and tells him about how he always wanted to play baseball as a kid, but his father, Jonathan Kent, his Earth father, Jonathan Kent, wouldn't let him do it for the same reasons. And Jordan says, "You really wanted to play baseball that bad?" He goes, "Wow, yeah, I guess." And of course, it was for a girl, just like Jordan's motivation. It's always about a girl, Clark says. And then he tells Jordan, "You know what? I'm going to let you play football. I'm going to let you play football, and as long as you can control your powers and you don't hurt anybody, we'll give this a shot. But there's one stipulation. The stipulation is Clark wants to be a coach on the team, an assistant coach. So he goes to Coach Gaines, offers his services. Coach Gaines says there's no more spots available. We hired someone recently, and that was the last spot." Lois says, "Oh, no, he'll work for free." And welcome aboard, Clark. There's the water cooler. So looks like things are starting to come together here. The Kent boys are both on the football team. They seem happy and supportive of one another. Sean and Sarah broke up, and looks like she's going to go after Jordan, or they'll eventually hook up. And Clark gets to keep an eye on him as an assistant coach on the team.
Do you need any help, Mr. Kent?
All right, sir. Oh, great. Hey, Coach gave me a jacket, and I bought a hat.
And I bought a hat. It's the little things. I love his Clark Kent. I really do. I think it's fantastic. So the very last scene in this episode, we have Chrissy and Lois. They've got their board, and they're going to start making the yarn trails. They're going to connect everything with the yarn. And Lois says something like, how did Morgan Edge end up with a Kryptonian working for him, or something like that? Something with, Kryptonian powers. What's a guy with superpowers working for Morgan Edge? Blah, blah, blah. Something to that effect. And then it cuts to subject 11, 17, 11, whatever he is. He's on the phone. He's driving. Look at that. That is a K car all the way. Holy 80s. So he's on the phone, and he says, "What's Lar going to do about it?" And here we're introduced to, in the show, lesla-lar. It's actually a character named lesla-lar from the comics. and she visions him, kills him, and says it's all taken care of. And that's the end of the episode. So Lesla-lar premiered in 1961 in Action Comics number 279. Lesla-lar was a Kryptonian from the bottle city of Kandor, and she's supposed to be an evil twin of Supergirl. So let's see what happens and where that goes with this show. So that's it for the episode. Really, really good episode. And before we go, I just want to check the ratings. I mentioned it last episode. I didn't do the screen cap, so I have it here. So you can see the pilot did very well in the demo, 0.37, almost 1.8 million viewers, or 1.75. The second episode, it dipped. It went down about 27% in the demo to 0.27. Down 30% overall to a 1.2 million viewership, but then went back up for this episode here, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, or Not Being a Wallflower, back up in the demo to 0.28 and up just over 1% to 1.25 million viewers. So yeah, it's holding an audience after the first 3 episodes. Not too shabby. So that's it for episode 3. Thanks for watching. Remember to smash the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. It only helps us grow. And leave a comment below. I'm dying to know what you think. Positive or negative. How do you feel about Superman and Lois? And I will be back with episode 4 very, very soon. Thanks for watching.
If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, make sure you click the little bell icon to be notified anytime someone from our show drops new content here. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?